So about 3 years ago, I was completely way over my head involved in my career, and that was taking precedence over my relationship with my family and my kids. And we took a pretty drastic move to change that.
Yeah.
And if you look back on the beginning of our YouTube channel, that's when we took that move. But when we did, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was being very intentional with our kids.
Yeah.
And Becca actually came up with these 5 questions that we started just asking on a regular basis to our kids, whether it's at the dinner table or, any time throughout the day, that really just kind of was a basis to help them learn how to express themselves and tell us their stories and build a deeper connection with us.
Woo! Is there anything nicer than a man who's a good parent? Oh, okay, so.
Do I have lipstick on my face now?
No, but your beard scratched my face a little bit. It kind of hurt. Guys, he's
Welcome.
growing facial hair now. Okay.
It's not for you.
Yeah. So the reason we came up with these 5 questions is to teach our kids that we're going to accept whatever answer they tell us. We're going to sit there, we're going to take it in, and we're not going to show expression. We'll be excited for them. We'll support them if they're telling us something that's difficult, but we're not going to have an over-the-top reaction. Interior, in the inside, we might be like, what? Right?
Just falling apart on the inside.
What happened? I'm gonna kill him. There's been so many times where we look at each other, we're talking to our child, we're like, yeah, and then we look at each other
yeah, totally.
So we're teaching our kid that they can come to us with hard things, now that they're at a younger age, and they can come to us and we're gonna be there and we're gonna be steady. That's our goal. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be steady and we're gonna be secure, so that when you come to me later on, when you're a teenager and you're in college and you got yourself in a pickle, a real pickle, we're gonna be steady and we're gonna be secure and we'll help you through it. So like Ben said, we were really suffering with connection, not only in our marriage, but in adventure, in family, in faith. All these things were just suffering because work was taking priority over everything. So 3 years ago, we dropped everything, quit jobs, hit the road traveling. If you go back to the very beginning of our vlog, that's where it all started. And ever since then, the Family Fulfillment Project has been born, and we've just been very intentional to finding fulfillment in marriage, family, faith, and travel. I said I'm out of order, so it got me mixed up a little bit. But that's the shift that we're taking in our channel. We're going to be talking more about how we're intentional within our marriage, within our family dynamic, within our faith, and bring you guys along on the journey with us. So let's jump right into these questions and get started. So let's start with our first question that we ask. This is usually around the dinner table, but if we feel like they have something on their heart that's weighing them down, we usually save questions and ask them at tuck-in time, or say, hey, you want to go grab an ice cream, and take them on a drive and take them just for independent time, or walk in the field. That way, we always find that they're more intentional to talk when we're doing an activity with some of our children. So we're like, okay, what can we do? Let's go on a bike ride. Let's whatever it is to make that interaction more successful for that child. Let's start with question number 1. The first question we ask is, what brought you joy today? What specifically brought you joy today? Sometimes it's vague. Sometimes, what have been examples that they've said?
Their standard answer that they would try to always give was you coming home. They would say that about me coming home from work. Yeah. But we always would press in after that and be like, okay, well, that's great, but what else? Yeah, thank you.
Mom buying popsicles. Oh, good. What brought you joy, deep in your heart today, right? Mm-hmm. For me, Miller is napping right now. The kids are happily playing. I'm sitting in my house quiet and having a minute. That brings me deep joy. That's joyful. Doesn't happen very often, and I'm full of joy because of it.
True joy.
Yes, so that's deep joy. That's unadulterated joy.
Yeah, and that's a good way to kind of get the juices flowing.
Yeah. And I give an example, if they're having a hard time answering, we'll answer for ourselves. We go around the table and we all answer it. So, and it also calms down the dinner table. For those of you that have younger kids, the dinner table can get so loud. Not with conversation, but with chaos. So we're like, oh, let's do questions. And everyone's like, oh yeah, because they want to hear what their sibling has to say.
Yep.
And it also creates a deeper bond with them, because I'll hear them talking about things we talked about at the table later on. Okay, question number 2.
Question 2 is, what is the hardest thing that you had to do today?
What is the hardest thing that you had to do today? So this is a big variety. Sometimes it was, oh, I had a hard time on my test, or this child kicked me, or this one, he punched me and it hurt me, or whatever.
Or I had to eat that disgusting food that you made for me.
This dinner is gross, like whatever it is. But then sometimes, and that's fine, that's great, you share what your hardship is, but sometimes you can see that the child might be not answering exactly what they might be feeling. And then if that happens, sometimes they break down in tears and they'll answer it truthfully at the table if they feel comfortable with their siblings and everyone there. And if not, we kind of make a mental note. You can tell that there's something deeper there, and we'll talk to them about it in an environment where they thrive. One of our kids does really well if we bike ride and they get to talking.
Yeah.
One does really well in the car, so you find where your child best communicates and then dig a little deeper into that question.
Well, and if you have multiple kids, or even if you just have one, I think it's best if you are in a setting where there's more than just a one-on-one, if possible, because as the kids listen to other kids talk, then that makes them a little bit more comfortable and allows them some time to maybe think about an answer.
Yeah. We found this a lot when we were camp counselors. That's how Ben and I met. We were camp counselors. And once one kid opened up in a group setting, they would all open up. One started crying about a hardship in their life, they would all start crying about separate hardships in their life. It just takes one to be vulnerable for kids to open up, just to know that they're in a safe environment to do so. Okay, so let's talk about question number 3. How did you show kindness to others today? And this is a good one because we always want them to be intentional in how they're treating others. And while it's a bigger lesson for some of our kids to learn than others,
it's a harder lesson to learn.
It's a much harder lesson. It's good for them just to have in their mind throughout the day, like, oh, mom and dad tonight are going to ask me how I showed kindness to others. And to feel like pride in themselves and their own actions. And to know through kindness, you get awarded. Like we go, good job. Like that was so thoughtful. Oh, I'm just so proud of you. And for you to intentionally vocalize praise upon your kids, that boosts their self-esteem and that boosts their security within your family. So an example would be, oh, that person wasn't being very nice at school, and then I decided I'd sit with them. Like that's the common thing we hear all the time, right? And that was showing kindness. Good job. Good job for doing that,
Or for some of the littler kids, it's like, I shared my favorite toy with my brother today, or something like that. That's pretty legitimately impressive that they actually do it.
I didn't punch him today. Good job. Good job. And each kid has their own struggle. I have my struggles in being kind. He has his. We all have different battles we have to fight as humans. So we want to reward them in those areas as much as we can. And we'll go around and we'll all like clap. Good job for doing that. We'll all separately clap for each other, which is the age that we're at. Obviously, if you have middle schoolers, older kids, you don't dumb it down so much. You talk in a more of a mature manner. Like if I were to clap for my 8-year-old, she'd be like, please. She would not be about that. Be really intentional to meet your kids where they are at in their age level. We're just giving examples for where we're at. But when we were camp counselors, we would ask similar questions to people all the way through high school. And I'm telling you, this will get kids to open up. And even if they don't open up, they know that you care. They know that you're taking the time to ask them questions. And eventually, if they have something to say, they'll say it to you.
Yeah. This has actually been really good for our relationship too, because we each get to talk about those questions and maybe hear something about each other's day that we didn't know before.
So true.
This is a great exercise.
Like, oh, what brought you joy today? It did?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know. Those aren't common questions we ask each other. Yeah. But that will be another video of how questions we ask each other on a weekly basis for our marriage. But let's jump into question number 4.
Okay, question number 4 is, what could you have done better or handled better today?
Yes.
So what is the situation where you may have not made the best choice?
Yeah. What is the situation where you made the wrong choice today? We all make wrong choices. Like maybe I yelled at one of my kids and I feel regretful for it. Or what if I got too frustrated about something and started sweating and got all huffy about it, because I'm still a mom of 4 kids under 8. So.
Was that?
Sometimes I have moments where I just lose it. We are not perfect parents. So I have to tell my kids, I made the wrong choice today when I yelled at you about you not cleaning your room when I asked you to do it 7,000 times. Like, I feel regretful that that was my reaction. I should have handled it better. And I'm really sorry that I treated you that way. Next time, how I can choose differently, next time I will really try to approach you in patience, and I will ask you again in a kinder way. And instead of yelling, we'll just come up with a different consequence. You know?
That's such an important way to build trust, I think, with your kids, is to like show them, hey, here's where I messed up and I have these imperfections.
Yeah.
That really takes down their walls of being able to be like, okay, yeah, you're not perfect either. Let me tell you about my stuff.
Mm-hmm. We always talk, before that question comes up, we always talk about how every single person in the world is working on something. We are all working on things, from little kid all the way up. We all have our downfalls. We all have to be consciously working on something and improving things in ourselves. So some of our kids get very frustrated at themselves that they repeat the same mistake repetitively. And I'm like, guys, I'm an adult and I make the same mistake for the past 35 years. Like, that's older than I am. For the past 30 years. Like, it's just a work in progress. Like, you just have to be intentional to do a little bit better every day. So that one's always a really good one, because it sometimes brings tears, but it always brings growth. And the last question, question number 5, is how do you think God showed up for you today? And I really love this one because we're a faith-based family, so everything is wrapped back up into God, because we want to teach our kids that through the good, bad, and ugly, through our downfalls, through our strengths, we are loved 1,000%, no matter what, no matter who, you are loved, right? So we want to teach our kids that God is with you at all times. So how did he show up to you today?
And this allows the kids to maybe look outward a little bit more, because they're kind of looking internally for all the other questions, and this one allows them to kind of be a little bit more observant with the world around them and connecting, and how God is a part of everything in their world. And
how he's going to give us the strength to conquer all the questions, right? So when we bring up this question, it always brings a mix of responses, because our kids, again, are young, but we'll speak on it really deeply. Like, I had a really terrible migraine the other day, for example, and I haven't had migraines in forever, and the kids put their hands on me and prayed for me. It was like so sweet. But they all put their hands on me and they prayed for me. I didn't ask them to, they just did. And my headache just went away. Like, I told the kids, like, oh my gosh, my headache is gone. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a very full conversation for them, is God showed up. Remember when God showed up and healed your headache? I was like, yeah, do you remember that? And they're like, yeah. They're like, I was scared in bed the other day and I prayed that God would take away my fear. And guess what? God took away my fear. Yes.
Awesome.
And they're just learning that God is present throughout the day and throughout life. So I love that question. That one's my favorite.
Absolutely. And that also kind of reminds them throughout the day, just like some of the other questions, to kind of be thinking oh, God just showed up in that moment, to kind of connect it home.
I love that.
So 5 questions is pretty short and sweet, and it's an easy one to kind of remember and get through on a regular basis. Yeah. And I think this is a great foundation to really start the connection with your kids that maybe you've lost or that you're looking for. And then you can just take it from there and run with it with 1,000 other questions. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are the Family Fulfillment Project, and we share videos about travel, about marriage, about family, and about our faith. So that's kind of everything that encompasses our life, and we love that you're here with us.
Thanks for coming on this journey with us of finding fulfillment in your everyday life and in the in-between, and we will see you next Sunday. Oh, and make sure you like and subscribe.
Oh, right.
That's something YouTubers say.
Don't forget about it.
Like, subscribe, and there'll be more content. Yeah. Miller's napping, so you know what I'm gonna do? Nap.
Take a nap?
Nap. Read a book. Yeah. It's a video that's not normal when we're not dancing.
Has to be a part of it.
Was it weird for you guys to not see just normal content of us dancing?
All right, see ya.
See you next Sunday.